Okay, so good day guys. The code snippet that I'll be showing for today is how to create an SQL statement using for each in PHP. Now what it will do is that it will get all the form values as well as the form name, and based on the form name and form values, we will be outputting it as an SQL statement. Okay, so currently we will just be using insert statements since it's just for testing purposes, and I do believe that this will make the work a lot easier since we no longer need to code it one by one. Okay, we no longer need to code each field one by one because I think some of the code or some of the table has more than 10 fields, so at least it will cut the coding time. I won't say half, but maybe a little bit shorter compared to if we're going to do it manually. Okay, so let's now start our code. The very first thing we need to do is, since what I've said, this is just for testing purposes, try to create form. Let's try to just use three forms: first name, last name, then address. So let's try to use form method post form. Label break. Okay, then next, input type, text name, first name. You just have to copy the first form. Okay, so last name, then last, label, address, label break, then of course our text area name, address, then text area. Okay, we'll also be adding some button or submit button. Input type, submit, name, submit value, submit. Okay, now since we already have created our form, let's try to add our PHP code. Okay, let's try to put it here on top. If we set submit okay. Okay, so every time we click submit, it will be redirected here on top. Okay, now this is actually where the code will begin. So first thing that we need to do is to try to create a variable called SQL. Now this will just be an empty variable. As you notice, I've initialized it as an empty variable. Then next is SQL dot equals to insert into. So to use the first currently table name space, or maybe yeah, so to put space, put parentheses. Okay, so as you've noticed, I've just specified my table name. If later we can use it as a function. Okay, then let's get all of the field name this time, or index for each post as index, then value. Okay, now as you've noticed, I use post. I didn't put any index on my post because what I want to do is I just want to get all of the field name of my form. So it will just be we will be getting the values of my first name, last name, and address. Okay. Next, if let's say index is not equals to what's our this one, this will be we will be excluding this part or the bottom part, so let's try to put it as submit. Then else, okay, let me just try to comment first. This section will be used for the field name. Okay, the first for each, we'll be using it as our field name. Okay. Next. Okay. Let me try to delete this part first. Sorry. Okay. As you've noticed, I use index, so we will be excluding index. Now the other thing that we are going to do is we're going to check if it's the last form. So we will be getting we will be excluding also address. So if index is not equals to address, else, I'll be showing it to you later why we are going to exclude address on our if statement. SQL dot equals to, okay, so index, then comma, the next SQL period index period comma. Okay, let's try to output first SQL. Let's try to see how it will look. Okay, let me just first comment it also. This will exclude the submit button. This will check if it's the last field on our form. If it's the last field, in this case it's address. We will be excluding adding comma. Okay, so let's try this time to check if what we have created so far is correct. Okay, so let's go to our Firefox. Okay, so there's an error on our code. Line 52. Forgot. Okay, going back here, Firefox again. Okay, so let's say, for example, let's say to add Michael Jordan USA. We submit. Okay, so I have here I'm inserting to table name, first name, last name, then address. Okay, so this is actually our index. So okay, code. Instead of trying to put hyphen, or no, not hyphen, single quote, what I basically do is try to do this one. So by changing, okay, let me just try to show you first. Okay, comma. So going back to our Firefox, as you can see, we have here comma. Okay, so we don't want that. What we want to do is we want to add a single quote here. So let's try to go back to our code. Try to delete, then that's it. Then okay, try to Firefox. Okay, so first name, last name, and address. As you've noticed, it's already single quote. Okay, cool. Let's try to do. Okay, let's try to close this time. Let's not put it here. Okay. SQL dot values. Okay, this will be our closing parenthesis. Closing here. This will be our opening parenthesis. Field name or columns. Okay. Now the next part that we are going to do is our values. Okay. This section will be used for our values. Okay. So for each post as index, okay, value. Okay, so again, this we need to exclude again our submit button. This will exclude the submit button if index not equals to submit. What we can do is we just copy this part. Okay, then also this part. Command service comma address. As you've noticed here, we added index. We try to check again the index if it's submit or if it's an address. But this time we don't want to display the address, the index. We want to display the values. So try to put value. Okay, change it here also. Then SQL period rows. Do that, something like that. Try to go back to our Firefox. Okay, now this is already our insert statement. So insert into table name, first name, last name, address, values, Michael, Jordan, USA. So as you've noticed, we didn't add, we didn't actually try to code the SQL statement. What we just basically did was just try to code everything programmatically. So let's say, for example, we want to add another field. Okay, so let's try to check if it's going to work. Let's try to add, instead of maybe last name, let's try to add date of birth. Date of birth. I'm going to put it here, DOB. Okay. Now I added here date of birth. Okay, the new field. Then input type text DOB or date of birth. That's what I added. So basically we now have 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 and 5 fields. Okay. Let's try to check if it's going to work. Okay. So let's try to reload date of birth. January 1, 2000. Then still USA. So let's click submit. Okay. So as you've noticed, we didn't add it on our SQL statement. The SQL statement was just generated automatically or programmatically. So you have your first name, last name, date of birth, address, values, Michael, Jordan, January 1, 2000 in USA. So that's how you would do it if you want to create your SQL statements programmatically. Okay, so it's actually the code. Okay, this is just a simple code snippet, guys. So if you find the content of this blog useful, please don't hesitate to subscribe. Thank you very much. Thank you for listening, and God bless.